Late husband and I, we were driving up Jasper Mountain. We came around this one small curve and I heard him go, "What the hell?" I looked up at this buckskin colored female Bigfoot.
I heard this rustling down here and I thought, God darn it, he's down there watching. I knew what I'd seen and unequivocally, it was a squatch.
For centuries, Bigfoot has haunted North America's wilderness, leaving footprints, sightings, and chilling encounters behind. From Washington's Blue Mountains to Vermont's Green Mountains, witnesses report massive silent figures moving through the trees. Researchers like Jeff Meldrum, Matt Moneymaker, and Stan Avery uncover casts, footage, and stories that blur the line between myth and reality. Bigfoot watches, waits, and strikes when least expected. Could it be closer than we think? For most people, Sasquatch is just a story. But for those who venture into the wild, it becomes something much more real. Out there, every sound and shadow tells a story no report ever could. Matt Moneymaker, founder of the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, BFRO, and veteran tracker Mr. Green, returned to one of their most compelling encounter sites. Reviewing the footage, Matt called it extraordinary, unlike anything we've ever captured. "This is the spot," he said, pointing to an old stump. A candy bar had been placed there, and later, caught on thermal, snatched away by something unseen in the night.
Matt Moneymaker.
Mr. Green. So we got the footage.
Right.
I love it. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
It's definitely unique. There's nothing else out there like that. And you're saying it was right here?
Here it is. This is the spot, and that is the stump. That stump right there is where the candy bar was when he grabbed it off the thermal.
For nearly 20 years, Mr. Green had searched for signs of Bigfoot until he started camping here. That night, the forest was unnaturally still. The air felt heavy. He was alone. Around 3 a.m., a deep, wet plop broke the silence, something heavy landing close by. Then, again, closer.
He grabbed it off the thermal. I've been into Bigfooting for about 20 years, completely unsuccessful until I started coming down to this very spot. There was nobody else in the campground. Put my tent up, went to sleep. 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. Down there somewhere, I heard this plopping noise. It sounded like somebody dropping a water balloon on the floor.
Moments later came a slow, rhythmic breathing above his tent, deep and heavy, like Darth Vader. Each breath pressed closer, vibrating through the thin fabric. Then, a sudden thud struck the top of the tent, hard enough to shake it. Instinctively, he hit back. Footsteps scrambled away, fading into the brush. The woods fell silent again, except for his racing heartbeat.
The thing I heard right over the top of my tent was what I call Darth Vader breaths, which was,
I've heard that before.
and then something cupped the top of the tent. And I whacked the side of the tent back, and it ran off. I heard this rustling down here, and I thought, God darn it, he's down there watching.
Trying to stay calm, he slipped into his car and drove to the far end of the empty campground. 2 tense hours passed. When he finally returned, the candy bar was gone, and his fully charged camera was completely drained.
I got in my car and conspicuously drove off. And I drove way to the other end of this campsite, and I just parked there and I waited for 2 hours. And then I came back. Candy bar was gone, and the battery was dead.
When he reviewed the thermal footage, his breath caught. The figure radiated solid heat from head to toe. No cold spots, no gear, no suit. The shape was unmistakable. Towering frame, long arms, and broad shoulders. He was convinced this was a Sasquatch.
I knew what I'd seen, and unequivocally, it was a squatch. The image does not reflect any cold spots that it would if you were wearing a fat suit or a lot of insulation. Its general shape was...
Later, the BFRO team attempted to recreate the moment. Walk up to the stump, one investigator instructed. Reach for the candy bar, eyes just above the stump. As the footage rolled, their movements matched the original perfectly. "Oh my God," one whispered. "Look at that. Perfect."
Looks like it's coming up toward the stump from right in there. It's making a beeline toward the stump.
You want me to proceed all the way to the stump right now?
Yeah, come up to the stump and reach and grab the Zagnut bar while keeping your eyes just over the top of it. A little more. And come closer.
Oh my God, look at that! Perfect.
As Bobo and his teammate moved cautiously through the trees, something caught his eye. "There's something on that hill," he said, pointing. Partially hidden in the brush stood a dark, human-like shape, tall, solid, and motionless. It wasn't a shadow. It was watching them. Could this finally be the creature so many have claimed to see? The team met with Professor Jeff Meldrum before setting out to track mysterious footprints in Washington's Blue Mountains. At a local town hall, residents shared chilling, first-hand Sasquatch encounters. Some even led the team to the exact sites where they had seen it. Standing before the crowd, the BFRO team asked if anyone had ever seen, heard, or found traces of Bigfoot. One by one, hands rose across the room, dozens of them. The team focused on those within a 50-mile radius, determined to document every credible sighting.
Hello, Walla Walla.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have encountered a Sasquatch at some point, whether you've seen it, heard it, or even found footprints, will you please raise your hand nice and high?
No way!
Yeah!
I don't believe it.
This is awesome.
How many of these things happen within 50 miles of where we're at right now?
Then came David Bean. Holding up a strange cast, he revealed an eerie imprint unlike anything anyone had ever seen. This handprint was left by a Bigfoot, he said. The creature, he explained, had been tracking a chipmunk near the forest edge. The cast showed fingers 2 inches longer than a human's, thick, powerful, unmistakably different. "That's incredible," Matt whispered, as silence swept the room.
I have a handprint. Apparently, Bigfoot was after a chipmunk. He was finding food. That particular cast were taken at the edge of the watershed. Their fingers are about this much longer, about 2 inches longer than ours.
That's so cool.
That is awesome.
Next was Chelsea, a Umatilla tribal member who recalled her encounter on December 27, 2012, deep within the Umatilla Indian Reservation. The room fell quiet as she began.
Hi, my name is Chelsea. My encounter happened on December 27th of 2012 on the Umatilla Indian Reservation.
Driving home late that night, Chelsea slowed behind an old truck that had come to a stop on the dark road. Then, from the trees, a massive figure emerged, broad-shouldered, long-limbed, and impossibly fast. It crossed the road in just 2 strides, completely silent. Her friend never noticed a thing, leaving her frozen in shock as she realized what she had just seen: Bigfoot.
I approached an old truck that was coming to a stop, so I knew that something was about to cross the road, so I had slowed down. And I saw a large animal cross in front of my car. It took maybe 1.5 to 2 steps to cross the road. My friend that was with me at the time was texting and not paying attention to the road. And I said, "Oh my God, I think I just saw Bigfoot."
Later, investigator Matt Moneymaker traveled to meet Chelsea in person. Her sighting matched a pattern of winter encounters across the Blue Mountains, precisely what the team needed to pinpoint their next search area.
I'm headed down to meet with Chelsea from the town hall meeting. She was a Umatilla Indian and had a sighting on the Umatilla Indian Reservation, and it abuts right up against the Blue Mountains. Her sighting is important to us because it happened at the same time of year, and it happened a little over a year ago, so this may end up being a better place for us to figure out where we should.
December 27th, 2012, a day that would stay with her forever. Chelsea was driving along a quiet stretch of road when a vehicle ahead came to a sudden stop, forcing her to slow down. As she eased forward, a massive figure emerged from the edge of the forest. Its broad shoulders and long arms swung with an eerie, deliberate grace as it crossed the road in front of her. She could feel her heart pounding as she tried to comprehend what she was seeing. Every step of the creature was unnervingly precise, moving with a strength and confidence that was unmistakable. In that brief, strange moment, she realized she was witnessing something truly extraordinary. Bigfoot.
So this is where it happened.
Yeah, on December 27th of 2012. As I was driving down the road, I approached a vehicle and it was coming to a complete stop, so I knew that I should probably slow down. And as I did, I saw a very large figure cross the road in front of me, and I could see arms swinging as I was walking.
For a few brief seconds, the area was well lit, and she saw it clearly. The sight sent a wave of fear through her. She froze, slipping into instant shock. When Matt asked how far away it had been, she compared the distance to that between a nearby telephone pole and her car. The creature had walked directly between them, towering and broad-shouldered. Even in that short moment, she could tell. It stood nearly 8 or 8.5 feet tall. What other secrets do the woods around the Umatilla Reservation hold? Just out of sight?
It was very well lit.
It scared me, honestly. I kind of went into instant shock, and then I said, I think I just saw Bigfoot.
How far away were you from the front of that car?
About the distance from this telephone pole to me in my car.
Wow. You came right together and it walked right in between.
Yeah. It was tall. It was very large. I could see that it was, probably, I'm guessing, around 8 feet.
Matt was convinced that Chelsea had truly seen a Sasquatch, a belief reinforced by the fear and certainty in her own eyes. For Chelsea, there was no question. What she had witnessed that day was real and unforgettable. The visitor at Glacier Pass. Snow swirled thick under the high beams. Emily gripped the steering wheel tighter as her tires crunched over the icy mountain road. She was already an hour past when she should have turned back, but the thought of spending another night at the roadside lodge made her stomach turn. She just wanted to get home. Then the dashboard lights flickered. Once, twice, the engine shuddered and went silent. Emily cursed under her breath, twisting the key, but the car wouldn't start. No signal, no other cars for miles. The wind howled outside. A soft crunching sound broke the silence. Snow being stepped on, slowly, deliberately. She looked up, shapes blurred in the swirling snow. Then something stepped into the light. It was massive, tall enough to bend slightly to peer through her side window. Its fur was thick, matted with frost. Its broad, almost human-like face framed by a gray mane. And its eyes, vivid blue, intelligent, almost sad, locked onto hers. For a long moment, neither moved. Her breath fogged the glass. The creature tilted its head, curious, then pressed one enormous hand against the window. The glass fogged beneath its palm. Emily couldn't scream, couldn't move. She whispered, almost involuntarily, "Are you real?" The creature blinked once, then stepped back into the swirling snow and vanished. 20 minutes later, her hands finally steadied the wheel. The engine roared to life on the first try. At the ranger station, she stayed silent. They'd think she was crazy. Until one ranger noticed the car window, a single enormous handprint, warm and unmistakable, still faintly visible in the frost. But Emily couldn't shake the question. Was it truly gone, or just watching from the shadows? Alone in the woods with her dogs, Danielle could feel it. Eyes on her, silent, unblinking, always watching. Each encounter brought the creature she feared closer, the one she believed was Bigfoot. Something strange was caught on camera. Her videos revealed unsettling moments that changed everything. At first, she doubted what she was seeing, until fear set in. Not for herself, but for her dogs. She'd heard what happens when creatures like this cross paths with animals, and she had reason to be afraid.
My name is Danielle, and these are my videos.
There's no way, dude.
At first, I'm just like, I cannot believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing right now. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was terrified for my dogs. I've heard so many stories of them and dogs not getting along. So that was where I got scared.
Danielle's voice trembled. No, guys, come on, dogs, let's go. We're leaving fog coiled around her legs, swallowing the beam of her flashlight. The dogs froze, growling low. Then she saw it, a towering shape just beyond the mist, still, watching. It didn't run. It didn't hide. It simply stood there, aware and unafraid.
No, guys, dogs, let's go now. We're leaving. It thought that the fog was hiding it, that I wasn't seeing it. Even though it heard me and saw me, it didn't seem like it cared.
Soon after, Mark Moran shared footage showing a shadowed figure moving through the trees, proof Danielle wasn't alone in what she saw. Through rolling fog, a massive shape emerged, tall, human-like, and perfectly still. Its outline matched countless eyewitness accounts. Broad shoulders, heavy build, deliberate movement.
Bigfoot or Sasquatch that so many people have witnessed. It's a large, heavy form. We see the head, the broad shoulders, and it appears to be quite weighty.
Researcher Ronnie LeBlanc explains that many reports link Bigfoot sightings with dense fog, natural camouflage that helps it move unseen. And in this footage, that theory feels real. The creature's silhouette, towering, powerful, and perfectly outlined through the haze, fits the description too well to ignore.
There's a lot of legends that when the fog comes out, there will be Bigfoot sightings because they're using that fog as cover. And you see this enormous being next to the tree that clearly has the outline and shape of a Sasquatch.
Moments later, the forest grew quiet. Then came a deep, heavy movement through the trees. Danielle froze. Something was shifting the logs along the path ahead. When she turned to leave, she noticed it. The trail blocked by massive branches that hadn't been there before. Something had placed them, deliberately.
I had just been walking through and I heard a lot of movement.
Are they moving stuff in front of the trail again? Look at that. That's where the tree comes out.
But when I started walking back, that's when I could see these logs moving.
That tree branch was not there like that.
The logs were massive, stacked and crisscrossed across the trail, completely blocking her. A figure stood beyond the branches, still and watching. She didn't see it clearly until she reviewed her footage and realized what had been staring back at her.
These logs are huge, and they're crisscrossing them, blocking the path. It made me nervous because these were big trees and this was a big thing sitting there staring at me, and I didn't really get a good look at him until...
Joanne Mass, investigator and explorer, later released footage showing a dark, human-like figure hidden among the trees. It moved slowly, purposefully, peering through the branches, watching, waiting.
It does look like there is some black figure amongst the trees. Like, it doesn't really want to be seen, but it looks like it's still kind of peeking to see what's going on.
Danielle turned to leave, voice trembling. Okay, I'm leaving. Yet one question remains. How has she encountered this creature so many times without ever leaving her home state? Tina Sams, an experienced outdoors woman and Project Zoo Book member, recounts a chilling encounter deep in Ohio's forests. One night, she and her companions came face to face with something towering and human-like, a figure that would leave her shaken long after. Her story blurs the line between legend and reality in the heart of the wilderness. Just past midnight, the woods were silent except for the soft crackle of the fire. Then Tina noticed something strange, headlights cutting through the trees deep in the dark. She turned to her friend and asked, "Do you want to jump on the cart and see who or what is up there?"
It was 12:30 at night. I was sitting at my fire with a female friend of mine. Maybe 45 minutes before that, I had seen headlights up in the woods. So I was like, "You guys want to jump on the cart? Let's go up in the woods, see if anybody's up there."
They drove through the pitch-black woods, stopping the golf cart 3 times. Each pause was tense. The headlights flickered in the distance, then disappeared without a sound. By the 3rd stop, unease gripped them as they whispered in the dark, eyes fixed on the woods to their right.
3 different times, we stopped the golf cart, looked to the right, up in the woods, see if anybody's seen headlights. Did it again, maybe, a couple hundred feet. Stopped the 3rd time, and we were there for a minute, and we were talking, and we were all kind of looking to the right.
Then, a sharp crack to the left shattered the silence. Years of hunting told Tina instantly that something big had moved. She ran toward the sound, her companion close behind, while the teen in the back strained to see through the darkness.
And then I hear a twig snap to my left. I grew up my whole life in the woods, hunting and fishing, and I know if a twig snaps, something had to step on it. So I flipped my head to the left. The girl in the passenger side, which was the adult, turns to the left. I'm blocking her. The 15-year-old young lady on the back turns her head when we all hear the snap.
Out of the darkness, something massive pushed itself upright. It shifted to her left, moving slowly toward the back, each step deliberate and unnerving. Before she could react, the golf cart jolted forward on instinct. The girl in the back screamed, "What's that?" then shouted, "Go! Go!" Even as they sped away, hearts racing.
It was coming off the ground with its hand, stood up into a standing position, and started to walk. He was on my left and started to walk towards back away from us. And my golf cart was moving before I made a conscious thought to move. Like it was just a flight reaction. The little girl on the back yelled, "What's that?" And then she said, "Go, go." Well, we were already going.
But Tina couldn't stay away. She kept returning to the woods, driven by what she'd seen. When asked how big it was, she always said, about human-sized. Months later, she brought her 6-foot-tall relative to compare. Stopping the cart, she pointed toward the same tree. "Hop off and walk over there," she said. "Let's see how it measures up."
Put it back up in the woods a lot. And people would ask me, including my research partner, size-wise. And I said, human size. So maybe 3 months later, I have a family member with me that I know for sure is over 6 feet. We happen to be in that part of the woods. I said, "Hey, while I have you up here, jump off the cart. I'm going to stop. You jump off the cart."
Out in the woods that night, there was nothing. No firelight, no moon, just pitch darkness. Inside the van, she couldn't even see her own hand. Then it came. The feeling, not the sound, deep, heavy footsteps vibrating through her chest.
So I lay back down. It is pitch black. Like we're not by the fire. There's no lights. I mean, pitch black. Even laying in my van, I could do this and couldn't even see my own hand. I can't hear anything because I'm in my van. So at this moment, and the only reason I say this, the only sense I have is feeling right now, because everything else is null and void because I can't.
Doom, doom, then 3 sharp thuds. Doom, 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 and silence. The sudden stillness was worse than the sound itself, the air thick with dread.
Is that footfall? And then it was rhythmic, so it was doom, doom, and then it went doom, doom, doom. Now mind you, I'm not hearing that, I'm feeling that. 3 quick.
Tina and her friends, still trembling from the scream they'd just heard, struggled to find words. Whatever made that sound wasn't human, and it left them all terrified. Could the unearthly cry they heard belong to the legendary Sasquatch? Footage courtesy, Small Town Monster. Vermont hides a secret. Bigfoot roams its wild green mountains. In Sasquatch Unearthed, Bigfoot of the Northwoods, we track sightings, meet witnesses, and confront the unknown. Let's begin, and step into the mystery lurking in Vermont's forests. Near the quiet Vermont-Massachusetts border lies the small town of Pommel, a place steeped in whispers and legend. The investigation team traveled there after reports of a chilling roadside encounter that still sends shivers through locals who remember it.
Massachusetts border in a little town called Pommel. There's a gentleman down there that had a roadside encounter several years ago. We got the call through the BFRO. Dave and I met him.
How does that work with you guys? Like, how do people file a report? Like, if they get in touch with you, are you getting that for the BFRO?
Well, we have 2 avenues. We get People contact us through the BFRO. Dave and I handle Massachusetts with a couple other people.
It began along Route 7, the winding road cutting through the southern edge of the Green Mountains. On a cold, fog-drenched night, a commercial bus driver making his late run saw something emerge from the mist, tall, broad, and disturbingly human-like. He froze in disbelief, watching as the creature crossed the road with deliberate grace, its sheer size leaving him shaken to his core.
We're on Route 7 here, which is the main route coming through the area. In the southern Vermont, just in the beginning of the Green Mountains, a gentleman was driving a commercial transport bus in the middle of the night between 2 and 3 o'clock, and he witnessed a very tall creature come out of the wood line right here on the east side of the street, cross over to the west side of the street, and then go right up here into the woods.
Just 5 miles south, an elderly couple in their RV spotted a figure sprinting across a field at impossible speed, keeping pace with their vehicle before vanishing into the tree line.
About 5 miles south of here is where an elderly couple were coming up. They were heading up to the Green Mountains in their RV, and they looked out into a field and saw one running at a high rate of speed through the field, paralleling them. And then a school teacher at sunset with her dog up at the base of Mount Greylock, which is where the Appalachian Trail comes through. She was maybe a couple miles south of that, so about 7-8 miles from here. She saw one come out of the tree line and it looked at her.
But perhaps the most haunting account came from the Appalachian Trail, under a sky littered with stars. A schoolteacher and her dog were quietly stargazing when a massive figure appeared, no more than 100 feet away. They locked eyes for several seconds. She gasped, and the creature seemed to do the same. Then, without a sound, it turned and walked briskly into the night. The experience would stay with her forever.
The compelling one is, I think, was a school teacher right along the Appalachian Trail where her and her dog were stargazing, and one walked right out in front of her, at least 100, maybe less than 100 feet in front of her, stood there, and they both gasped at each other. She gasped, the creature gasped, the dog just froze, and then it just walked away at a brisk pace. And she found us on the internet and to tell her story. That's one of my most favorite stories from the Appalachian Trail.
In a nearby town, a hunter's terrifying encounter would spark fear throughout the community. At first, he thought it was a bear, but as the figure stood upright, its towering frame and unnatural movement proved otherwise. He fired in panic, and the creature disappeared into the woods.
Ape-man creature attack from the 1800s. That's one of the famous stories in the Bennington Triangle, and there's plenty of ones in the central part of the state. I actually had an interesting encounter happen to me, which I can't say is Bigfoot, but I'll go into the story real quick. In near an area in the Breadloaf Wilderness of, again, where the Appalachian Trail and the Long Trail are going through, near an area called Texas Falls in the National Forest, where while camping one morning, we'd done some wood knocks and put up some pheromone chips the night before, and in the morning we were woken up by wood knocks.
Soon others began sharing their own encounters, gardens torn apart overnight, eerie cries echoing through the darkness, and figures seen darting through the trees. Could all these encounters point to a creature lurking undetected in Vermont's forests, watching, moving, and waiting just beyond the trees?
And we were out, there's just one particular night, we were out all night, never heard a sound. He did a couple wood knocks, stuff like that, trying to get a response. And we were on this hill above camp. It was pretty high hill. And it was one of those things where nothing went on the whole night. But we come back about 2 in the morning, called it a night.
Footage courtesy, a flash of beauty Bigfoot revealed. Stan Avery returns with a chilling story involving actor Charles Levin and a haunting possibility that Bigfoot may have played a deadly role in southern Oregon. Because out here, in these dark forests, Bigfoot isn't always friendly. In southern Oregon, a mystery has lingered for years, and Stan Avery is determined to uncover the truth. He delves into a disappearance that may be more sinister than anyone imagined, suggesting that encounters with this elusive creature don't always end peacefully.
Talked last time, and I told you like a lot of the different accounts that we've been collecting over the years from Bigfoot, encounters and sightings at events in our area. And there was, I get reports all the time. People contact me and say this happened and that happened. But there's one of note that I wanted to convey to you that's really interesting. So Rod Taylor, he's a dear friend of ours. We've known him for years and years.
Stephen recounts how Rod Taylor, a longtime friend and county commissioner, and his wife Nicole were drawn to a remote, undeveloped parcel of land in southwest Oregon. Nestled deep within a dead-end valley near Bear Creek, the property sits in untouched wilderness, an area officially marked on the Bureau of Land Management's Bigfoot map for its numerous reported sightings.
And beautiful place. And on the east side of that, there's all these pieces of property. And that is actually, that area there is on the official Bureau of Land Management Bigfoot map, where they actually recognize they've had sightings in that area. It's actually marked on the map for all of southwest Oregon. So Rod and Nicole bought this acreage, and their dream is to build a home on it someday. And next door to them.
As night fell over their secluded property, an unsettling chorus erupted across the forest. High above their land, 3 large figures seemed to call out to one another, each cry echoing with an eerie rhythm, part growl, part vocalization. The sound sent chills through them, as if the forest itself had come alive to watch. Then came the screams, blood-curdling, guttural, and almost intelligent.
Evening, and they started hearing them. There were 3 of them up on their acreage in the woods, way up high, yelling at each other with the same type of communication. They were, screaming, and then there was the uniquely primate gibberish, and then howling and roaring, but all these sounds were very easily recognized as.
The night air trembled with strange primal gibberish and deep roars that rolled through the trees. Nothing native to Oregon made sounds like this. Mike Harrington, frozen in disbelief, first thought a tropical bird had escaped, until the realization struck him. These were calls, not cries. Bigfoot was real and dangerously close.
Bigfoot place. There's actually a huge store right in downtown Cave Junction. Anything pertaining to Bigfoot you want, they have it there. Movies, so he was moving, and he took he thought it was a back road. You know how people, there's this new thing called dying from GPS, and that's actually what happened. So he was taking this back road, and he got turned around.
The forest stretched endlessly, dense, isolated, and riddled with old logging roads. Somewhere out there, Todd made a final phone call. I got turned around out here. I need to find my way back. No one ever heard from him again. He vanished without a trace, swallowed by the silence of the Oregon wilderness. Could Bigfoot be more than just a myth, lurking unseen in these vast forests, watching, waiting, and striking when least expected?
The Bigfoot is real. So Rod and Nicole are sitting there, and Nicole turns to Rod. This is what they conveyed to me, and she said, "Stan and Teresa were right."
Over the years, researchers like Stan have gathered thousands of reports, some dating back to the 1800s, others nearly 1,000 years old. From oral traditions to modern recordings, the evidence paints a chilling timeline of encounters with something enduring. So what do you think? Could Bigfoot still be walking among us, hidden in Oregon's shadowed forests? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more real encounters that blur the line between myth and reality. Footage courtesy Animal Planet. The team returns to Louisiana, reuniting with researcher Lyle Blackburn at one of the South's eeriest places, Caddo Lake. Wrapped in fog and ancient cypress trees, this haunting swamp straddling the Texas-Louisiana border has long been known as both a Bigfoot hotspot and a horror film backdrop. At a crowded town hall, the team meets several witnesses, including one man whose chilling story of a female Bigfoot leaves everyone silent. With the dark woods surrounding them, Bobo asks the man to relive every detail of that day. Each sound, each movement, the witness describes spotting a massive figure near a pipeline marker on a gray, silent morning. When he raised his gun scope, the creature turned and vanished into the mist. Later,
Tell me a little about your story at Town Hall. Now that we're here, I want to go through the whole thing with you and see if I get some more details.
Okay. Then I just decided to hunt that morning. And then all of a sudden, that just kind of appeared right there by the pipeline marker. I went to try to pick my gun up to look at it through the scope. I mean, he just whirled and went back in the woods and was gone.
Bobo asks about the footprint he found, around 14 to 16 inches long, far larger than any human track. Standing by the marker, Bobo asks where the creature's head reached. The witness stops him at 8 feet, comparing its chest to a broad, powerful build. The height estimate made sense. The pipeline marker stood exactly 4 feet tall, giving the hunter a clear reference.
All right, I'm here. Is this it?
That's pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna raise my hand, and you tell me when to stop when it's the right height for the creature's head.
That's about the right height.
Yeah, that's an 8-footer. How thick was it through the chest compared to me? Like, this profile shot.
About half again as thick as you.
So you're saying it was this tall? I mean, that's 8 foot.
Having spent years judging distances, he was certain of what he saw. A towering, hair-covered creature walking on 2 legs. Bobo decided to walk down to the spot near the pipeline marker to get a better sense of the creature's size. Standing beside it, he called out to the witness, asking if this was the exact location. When the man confirmed, Bobo raised his hand slowly, asking him to say "stop" when it reached the height of the creature's head. The witness stopped him at about 8 feet. Bobo then turned sideways and asked how the creature's chest compared to his own build, trying to visualize its massive profile. The accuracy of the witness's size estimate came from the fact that the creature had been standing beside a fixed point.
What makes the size estimate so accurate was it was standing next to a fixed point, a pipeline right-of-way marker that's 4 foot tall. So he knew pretty much how big it was just from that. Hunters are good at judging distance and size. He thought I was 7.5, 8 foot. It turned out I was right around 8 foot. His opinion of what he saw that day didn't change seeing me up there. It just kind of reinforced it. So you have no doubt about what you saw that day is one of these undiscovered, large, hair-covered, 2-legged critters running around this part of the country.
A pipeline right-of-way marker exactly 4 feet tall. This gave him a solid reference for judging its height. Being a hunter, he was used to estimating size and distance with precision. When Bobo later stood in the same spot, the witness guessed he was about 7 to 8 feet tall, which turned out to be almost exact. Seeing Bobo there only confirmed what he already believed. The witness had no doubt about what he saw that day, one of the large, hair-covered, 2-legged creatures said to roam the region. Then came another chilling report from local farmer Faye Allen. During harvest season, she spotted something large bending near her cornfield. At first, she assumed it was a bear, until it stood up. Roughly 60 to 70 feet away, the creature was tall and slender, covered head to toe in black hair.
Back in 2008, she said while visiting the property, she observed a Sasquatch about 60 feet away, rummaging through a pecan bag.
So are these big things here pecan trees?
Yes.
Tell us what happened when you went to go harvest.
Well, we was harvesting pecans. And so I was coming through with a tractor, and I noticed something was by the pecan sack, and it was bent over. Then he stood up. I didn't know what to think.
It turned, met her gaze, and calmly walked away. Faye Allen recalled that the figure stood about 60 to 70 feet away. It was tall and slender, completely covered in solid black hair from head to toe. Though she could make out the shape of its face, the details were hard to distinguish at that distance. As she stood there, frozen, the creature turned its head, looked directly at her, and then calmly walked away.
What is going through your mind?
When I saw him, I was thinking, this is not real.
But you feel pretty confident this was the distance from the figure?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm going to walk over to that tree.
Okay.
Try to recreate what you saw.
Okay.
Faye's pretty sure that she saw a Sasquatch that day. So I'm going to head over to where the alleged creature was standing and try to get an idea of how big it was. Who knows? Maybe we can rule out a person.
In that moment, disbelief washed over her. It couldn't be real, she thought. After reviewing her account, the investigator compared it to hundreds of other Bigfoot reports and found it to be almost identical.
So much about this encounter makes perfect sense to me. These creatures know that's the sound of the harvesting of these things, so they don't have to go gather these things. You're gathering them for them. So they came up and ate right out of the bag. You crawl up on this thing, it turns and checks you out and just quietly walks away like hundreds and hundreds of other Bigfoot reports. This is spot on. You saw a Sasquatch. I'd bet my life on it.
I would too.
He was certain of what Faye Allen had seen. You saw a Sasquatch, he told her with confidence. I'd bet my life on it. Faye didn't hesitate before replying softly, I would too.
When you first see the figure, it's bent over the pecan bag.
Yes.
How long did the whole thing take? A few seconds or like 20 seconds or what do you think?
It wasn't very long at all, probably 20 seconds.
20, well, that's a long time actually.
Okay, so you're estimating that pecan bag, the top of it was at about this height, about 3 or 4 feet? So where would the top of the figure's head be?
Maybe just a little bit taller. So that's probably it right there then.
I definitely believe that Faye saw something that day, but I can't rule out that that wasn't somebody trying to pull a hoax on her. I mean, she said it was tall and lean.
If both witnesses are truly certain of what they saw, could this finally be the proof skeptics have long demanded? Or is the legend of Bigfoot destined to remain forever just beyond our reach, lurking in the shadows of the wilderness? As the forests fall silent once more, the evidence remains. Footprints in the mud, whispers in the dark, and stories too unsettling to dismiss. From Washington to Vermont, Bigfoot moves unseen, watching from the shadows, leaving only fear and fascination behind.
Thanks for meeting us, Ben. And this supposed to be the famous trailer, huh?
Yes, sir. I see it.
Well, tell us about what happened that night.
One night, I heard a noise outside. And when I got up close to it, it was shaking the trailer. She turned around, that's when I realized it was a female. Kind of had breasts on it. She just kind of throwed her head up, she turned.
Each encounter reminds us the legend is far from over. So, are we truly alone in these woods? Or is something massive and intelligent still out there, just beyond the light? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more encounters that blur the line between myth and reality. Footage courtesy Small Town Monsters. Just 98 miles south of Whitehall, New York, the quiet little town of Kinderhook rests beneath the shadow of the Catskill Mountains. It's the kind of place that feels frozen in time. Colonial homes, fog rising from the Hudson Valley, and a silence that feels just a bit too heavy after dark. Locals here are used to stories of headless horsemen, ghosts, and forest spirits whispered about since Washington Irving's days. But in the early 1980s, something new stirred in these woods. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a man. It was something much worse.
I first became aware of the village of Kinderhook while making The Beast of Whitehall. Paul Bartholomew was eager for me to learn about the infamous rash of strange creature reports that took place in the early 1980s. We journeyed out of the Adirondack area to visit Western Massachusetts and to learn more about Bigfoot in the Northeast. When we discovered that Kinderhook was right along our travel route, we made a beeline for this tiny hamlet in the Hudson Valley.
When the film crew behind On the Trail of Bigfoot visited Kinderhook, they expected folklore. What they found were eyewitnesses still trembling decades later. Author Bruce G. Hallenbeck, a lifelong resident, recounted the events that turned his hometown into one of the strangest Bigfoot hotspots on the East Coast.
Upon arrival, we met up with Bruce Hallenbeck, a key player in the creature case, as well as one of the co-authors of Monsters of the North Woods.
Can you talk about the Kinderhook creature sightings and Bruce and all that kind of stuff?
Sure. If you know, in some of these regions, it's not what you would expect. Albany, New York, the capital of New York, if you go just 10 miles south, you will run into Kinderhook, New York. They have a creature down there.
The reports began quietly.
The leading expert on the Kinderhook creature is Bruce G. Hallenbeck. And Bruce Hallenbeck, several members of his family have had close encounters with a creature and multiple creatures down in that region.
And a lot of the Kinderhook creature sightings took place in or around 1980, which is not all that far removed from the A-Bear incident of 1976. This was a time in history where Bigfoot sightings were happening all over the country, and there was a general sense that it's all right to talk about these things.
Strange sounds in the swamp, huge tracks that ended abruptly in the mud, as if the creature had simply vanished.
Creature or creatures in the Kinderhook area.
It's very elusive, whatever it is.
In fact, Hellenbeck says this thing is so elusive that he'll sometimes see tracks and then they suddenly stop, as if the creature had vanished into thin air.
But soon, it wasn't just whispers. There were sightings. Bruce remembers the first real panic. The day his cousin Barry came sprinting from the marshland behind their family's home, white as a ghost. Barry claimed he'd seen 3 creatures across the creek, tall, bipedal, covered in reddish-brown hair, making deep, chattering grunts. He wasn't a man easily shaken, but that day, his voice quivered.
Kinderhook creature story really is, in a way, the story of my grandmother, but it started with another family member of mine, my cousin Barry, who was trapping down in the swampland behind my parents' house. One day he came running up to the house, and I was here, and his face was as white as a sheet, and he said he had seen 3 creatures cross the creek down there that were tall, bipedal, and had reddish brown hair, and they were making clacking and grunting sounds.
Not long after, Bruce's grandmother noticed something strange happening at her home. Trash bags were disappearing from the porch, only to be found open neatly in the middle of the yard, the ties untied like human fingers had done it.
Much later that year, my grandmother noticed that something was taking her trash bags from the garbage can on the porch, taking the bags down to the middle of the yard, untying them like a person would do, and rifling through to apparently look for food.
The same thing happened to a neighbor, Mrs. Walters, who once found her trash bags stuffed high up in a tree. Then came the morning that changed everything.
My grandmother also found out that her neighbor, a woman named Mrs. Walters, was having the same experiences, and she found her trash bag up in a tree one day.
Just before dawn, Bruce's grandmother peered out her kitchen window and froze. In her yard, lying in the grass, was a large figure curled up in the fetal position. She assumed it was a bear, until it stood up. It rose onto 2 legs and walked away like a man.
One morning, my grandmother got up early, around 5 o'clock, and it was just getting light, and she looked out the kitchen window and saw something lying on the ground, all curled up, she said, like in a fetal position.
A creature curled up in the fetal position on her lawn, and she watched for a minute thinking it was a bear that was going to get up and walk, lumber away. Whatever it was got up, stood on 2 legs, and walked away.
The story made the local paper. A columnist, Barney Fowler, published it under the headline, "The Kinderhook Creature." Within days, letters poured in from terrified residents across Columbia County, people claiming to have heard screams, seen shapes in the woods, or caught glimpses of something huge moving through the fog.
Encounter with a creature.
Oh, he was big, tall, and he was standing on his 2 feet just like a person, and covered with black hair.
So he published a letter, and as a result of that, scores of other people wrote in saying that they had had similar experiences. They'd either seen something or they'd heard something they couldn't explain, and they were all in the same general area here in Columbia County. It got to the point where he was getting deluged with so many letters, he finally had to say, okay, that's enough. We have to stop now. We have to go on to other topics. Finally, in September 24th, 1980, my Aunt Barbara was bringing my grandmother home from her house. As soon as my grandmother got out of the car, she heard this noise from around the side of the house that she described as sounding like a person in mortal agony. My Aunt Barbara heard it, and she was so terrified that she panicked.
On the night of September 24th, 1980, Bruce's Aunt Barbara was bringing his grandmother home when an ear-splitting scream tore through the property. Like a person in mortal agony, she would later say. Panicked, Barbara locked herself inside the car, leaving her mother on the porch with nothing but a hammer in hand. Moments later, Barry arrived with a shotgun. He heard heavy movement in the trees. He fired a warning shot, The forest went silent. Then another shot, and this time the creature screamed. The sound was unearthly. Then nothing. It was gone.
Barry, who had a shotgun. My grandmother stayed in the house holding a hammer in her hand, ready for anything, I guess, because she was a tough lady. My Aunt Barbara came back with her son Barry, and Barry got up on the porch with a shotgun, and he heard the rustling of leaves, and he heard the thing moving near the trees. And so he fired the shotgun up into the air. Flame came out of the barrel of the gun, and the creature screamed and ran away.
The disturbances continued for years. Bruce's sister Susan Hallenbeck recalled recording bizarre animal-like sounds echoing from the woods, shrieks that alternated between a pig's squeal, a deep monkey-like chatter, and something like a pterodactyl's cry.
Can you start by telling me your name and your connection to this story, the Kinderhook creature story?
I'm Susan Hallenbeck, and I live here. My mother and I taped the noises and heard noises for quite a while over that one summer. I think it was about 82 and again in 88. 82 was a variety of strange noises, like sometimes it would sound like a pig. Well, I was trying to turn it up.
Her father once crossed the road to investigate, only to return pale, saying he'd seen two glowing red eyes watching him from the tree line.
There was also, I think it was when we made the tape, if I'm not mistaken, that my father went over across the road with a shotgun trying to see if he could see anything, and he said he saw something with red eyes.
That same summer, neighbors reported similar terrors. A fisherman named Mike Babb saw a massive reddish-brown creature step out of the woods in broad daylight. He claimed it had black fingernails, long arms, and eyes that seemed almost human.
It was an excellent sighting by a fellow named Mike Mabb, who was fishing at a nearby dam one day, and he saw across the creek this creature come out of the woods. And this was in broad daylight, mind you. This was in the afternoon. He said it had reddish-brown hair, very big dark eyes. He even said that he could see its fingernails were black. And finally it turned and went back into the woods, and that was the end of it.
To this day, the Kinderhook region sits along what researchers call a green pathway, a corridor of wilderness stretching from the Adirondacks down through Albany and along the Hudson River. Many believe this route is what allows these creatures, whatever they are, to move unseen, generation after generation. And perhaps that's why, even now, the Kinderhook woods still fall silent without warning. Locals say you can feel it before you hear it. The air gets thick, the frogs stop croaking, and the forest begins to listen, because somewhere in those ancient trees, the Kinderhook creature might still be watching.
It's Fred in Alaska. So what I wanted to share today is an example of how superstitious beliefs are perpetuated and continue. And it'll give a better understanding, regardless of coincidences and what have you. It's one of those things where it's something that's held on to very strongly because of situations.
Footage, courtesy, subarctic, Alaska, Sasquatch. The river was calm that morning, its glassy surface reflecting the untouched wilds of Bristol Bay. Joseph, in his early 20s, guided his small aluminum skiff upriver, the outboard humming beneath the endless Alaskan sky. Beside him sat his two young cousins, city kids from out of state, wide-eyed at the sight of towering pines, drifting mist, and the quiet majesty of the CO.AG wilderness. It was meant to be a short trip, a lesson in the raw beauty of Alaska. Bears, moose, maybe a bald eagle or two. Nothing more. By afternoon, they had reached the northern shore of CO.AG Lake, a stretch of land where the trees grew thick and the grass reached a man's shoulders. Joseph cut the motor, set anchor, and checked his shotgun. The cousins wanted to fish, so he let them cast from the shallows while he stood guard a few steps behind, scanning the tree line. The silence there was powerful, so complete that when the first whistle came, it cut through the air like a blade.
So Joseph, this was back in 1987. Joseph, he was early 20s at the time. He was at fish camp, and he had a couple younger cousins visiting from out of state. They were on the northernmost side of the lake. And so Joseph said he was just standing guard with the shotgun. And as they were doing so, heard a strange whistle from behind him.
It wasn't the wind, it wasn't a bird, it was deliberate. 2 short human-like whistles, clear and close. Joseph turned, expecting to see a villager or another fisherman, but there was no one, only the shifting grass and the stillness of the lake. He frowned and turned back to the boys, who were still fishing. Moments later, another whistle. "Hey," he called, "you kids whistling?" They shook their heads. "We thought it was you." A strange unease began to creep in, the kind that starts deep in the gut, a sense that something unseen is studying you. "Pack up," he said quietly. "Back to the boat." The boys obeyed without question. As Joseph stooped to pull the anchor, he saw movement, something dark and massive gliding through the grass about 40 feet away. His first thought was bear. It moved low, silent, the tall grass rippling with its shape. "In the boat, now," he said firmly.
A little while later, he hears a whistle again, and he's just like, what? So he turns around and he asks the kids, "Hey, you guys over there whistling?" And they're like, "No, we thought you were whistling." So he's like, "Huh?" So he starts looking around, and he's looking around, and he notices darkness within the grass, right? Sees this dark movement in the grass, and so immediately he's like, "That's a bear." The distance and just seeing darkness moving in the grass, it's, most logical thing.
He was pushing the skiff free when his cousins froze, staring past him, their faces pale. Joseph turned, and for the first time, saw it.
And as he's backing up, his cousins, but he must have went about 10, 15 feet, he said, and his cousins light up screaming, "Whoa!" He turns around and looks and sees this dark object, and it's right looking through the grass, right? He said its hands were down, and he said they were hands, big hands. It looked like caveman, but it was dark.
Through the veil of grass, a shape loomed, hunched, broad, grayish-black, its arms unnaturally long, 2 eyes fixed on them, dark, intelligent, unblinking. The hands that parted the grass weren't paws. They were human, massive, leathery, covered in coarse hair. For a heartbeat, Joseph couldn't move. The air felt thick, as if the world itself held its breath. Then, instinct kicked in. "Get down!" he shouted.
And this thing's looking at the kids. And at this time, they're still moving backwards, and the outboard had started kicking to the side because he was zoned, and it dawned on him, need to do it, need to tend to the outboard, and he straightened out. And as they're backing away, he tells the kids, "Get down, get down get low."
The boys ducked. He grabbed the shotgun, raised it, and yelled, "Get out of here!" The creature reacted. It bolted, first on all fours, then upright, running with a power that seemed unreal. It vanished into the trees in seconds, its heavy strides echoing through the valley.
Kids got low. He put it in neutral, ran forward, grabbed the shotgun, and raised it up. Started yelling, "Get out of here, get out of here," because he said this thing looked like a caveman, like a Neanderthal, and was just giving this evil stare. And he said he raised the shotgun and it bolted, took off. He said it was on looked like it was hunched over on all fours kind of deal for a little bit, disappeared into the grass, and then he seen it standing up and running off into some trees off to the left.
The cousins were crying, trembling in shock. Joseph reversed the skiff, trying to calm them, though his own hands were shaking. When they reached a safe distance, he dared to look back. The grass was still. Then the youngest cousin pointed. "It's there!" And it was, back where it had been, crouched low, watching.
His cousins are freaking out, crying and stuff. He's like, calm down, we're safe, we got a gun, we're offshore. And so the kids get up and start looking around too. And they're watching, and he said it was the youngest one, pointing and said, it's right there. And sure enough, as he looks over, he notices this thing, and it's in the same position it was when he saw it and grabbed the gun, right?
Joseph fired a warning shot into the air. The creature stood up, slowly, deliberately. It towered above the grass, at least 10 feet tall, shoulders as wide as a doorframe. Its expression was, there was no other word, hate. Cold, ancient hate.
And he picks up the shotgun and pops around, not even in its direction, just off, off the side, boom. And he said it stood up. And he said when it stood up, it was huge. And he said it just looked like, he got the sense of disgust, like hatred and disgust. And those are his words. I always ask people, well, how'd you feel? He said, after he shot and it stood up and he got that film, that feeling, he said it wasn't a very long, mere seconds.
Then, as if unimpressed, it turned and walked away into the forest, fading like a shadow into the green. The group made it back to camp, shaken and silent. Later, Joseph's younger brother insisted they return the next day to investigate. Against his better judgment, Joseph agreed.
And this thing turned and walked away, just casually, like a Sunday stroll, just walked away. They head out of there. So, now he gets them back to fish camp and everything. And his brother says, a little bit later, tomorrow, let's go back over there. I wanna check that area out. Said, all right.
When they arrived, the forest was still, heavy with fog. His brother stepped ashore, rifle in hand, tracing the path where the creature had run. Joseph followed reluctantly through the shoulder-high grass. Then a stick flew past them, landing with a heavy thud. They froze.
So he gets up there, and when they get to the same spot, his brother's like, hold on. His brother, instead of grabbing the bow line with the anchor, he just jumped off the skiff with his rifle and ran up the bank, right? And he's looking around. I don't feel safe. Maybe we shouldn't be here. Those words came out of his mouth, and a stick. He wasn't sure where it came from, but it just boom and hit on the ground by them.
A second later came a low grunt, followed by thrashing in the brush.
Joseph was so freaked out, he wasn't hearing everything his brother was. His brother behind him was hearing grunts and just this weird thrashing around like it was gonna come out of the brush. And Joseph didn't hear it because he's out of there, right?
Joseph ran. His brother fired into the trees. A scream erupted, high, inhuman, echoing through the valley like the cry of something wounded and furious.
His brother freaked out again. Joseph said, keep running, keep running. His brother kind of stumbled, fell down, popped back up, and he's facing the trees again. And the brush is moving. His brother just, bam, fires a shot into the brush, right? They hear this sound tear off. And he said it sounded like a freight train. And it got about, he's guessing maybe 50 yards, this thrashing noise, and then a loud scream. Wow, and then went high-pitched.
They never saw it again. But as they fled toward the skiff, another stick came flying out of the tree line, landing in the water just before their boat. Neither spoke until they were miles downstream. 3 days later, Joseph's youngest cousin, one of the boys from that trip, drowned while visiting relatives.
This stick, it looked like the bigger one. They seen it fling it through the air, and it lands right in front of the skiff, hitting the water. His little brother looked back at him and said, fuck that, let's go. The youngest cousin ended up drowning, coincidentally, when they were playing by a river, visiting other relatives. Younger cousin passed away.
The elders called it an omen, punishment for disturbing the hairy man. Joseph didn't believe it, but he never went back to Togiak Lake. He didn't have to. The sound of those whistles has followed him ever since. The Appalachian forest has seen centuries of footsteps, but some trails were never meant to be followed. From shadowy figures in the trees to sounds with no source, these encounters may be unexplained, but they're not uncommon. So the next time you're deep in the woods, far from cell service and surrounded by silence, ask yourself, what's watching from the dark? And why hasn't it shown itself yet? Got your own eerie encounter? Drop it in the comments, we're listening.